welcome back. So I had set a goal for myself to read Stranger Still during this kind of week between books for my book club, and I also just wanted to read it because I had already started reading it after finishing Strangers. So here we are. I managed to finish it today, and it was really fun and exciting overall. The prologue was great to be back with our killer from Strangers, who's now decided to call himself Legion, and the setup took a little longer in this one for me. We were about a quarter of the way through the book before I was really sold on it and understood what was going on, because so many characters had been introduced, and I was just like, but what does Legion have to do with these characters? And then finally, about a quarter of the way through, it's like, oh, that's what's going to happen with the story. Cool. I can handle it now. I get what's going on. I'm here for this. And from there, it was pretty smooth sailing and a pretty fast read. And I really loved that it wasn't the kind of sequel that just rehashes the plot of the original. This was very much not a home invasion story like the first book was. It's telling very much its own story. You've got Russian mafia in it. You've got a meth lab. You've got multiple killer types like Legion, each with their own amazingly distinct personalities, which I'm so impressed that Michael Brent Collins pulled it off that way. Because I know that in my own personal writing, when I try to write characters, they're usually not that distinct, and I was just so impressed at the little quirks that each character has. And yeah, it was a really fun ride, and I really enjoyed it. I'm really glad that I got through it. And yeah, I will say that it was a very interesting adventure compared to Strangers, not only in the different sort of plot, but looking at the different characters. It seems like the couple that you see at the very beginning who get kidnapped, that, they're going to be kind of the heroes of the story, and it doesn't ultimately entirely turn out that way, and I just love kind of the twists that Michael Brent Collins pulled throughout it. There even ended up being a lot of backstory in this, both for characters who were the ones who were kidnapped, both for the killers of the different varieties, for Legion himself. And I actually wasn't tired of it. So I guess sometimes I don't mind backstory and sometimes I do, but in this case I feel like Michael Brent Collins pulled it off in the context of when it was revealing their different backstories made sense within the story of why it would be coming up in the character's mind. And it wasn't just flashbacks to a random scene that doesn't entirely make sense how it's connected to me. So I really appreciated that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really happy I got to it. I don't entirely know what to say because I don't want to spoil a lot of it, since it was so unique, especially compared to Strangers, even compared to other thrillers I've read. The plot was just like nothing I've ever read. I've read kidnapping stories, I've read home invasion stories, I've read You're on the Run from the Killer kind of stories, and this didn't really fit any of those categories. It was just so good, and I loved how distinct each character was. I'm just gonna gush, I guess, say the same things over and over. But yeah, it was fun. There were a few mild moments that amused me, especially being a writer myself. There were some details towards the end where bodies were in rooms, and then he had written that one body got taken out, and then it was referenced later as if it was still in the room, which really amused me, and then it kind of got forgotten about because there was a new body that came up. So there were a few little things like that in a few of those minor details were like, oh wait, you didn't revise this properly, or you didn't notice that you'd moved this body somewhere else, and that kind of thing. But I mean, those are really minor details, and especially when you're in the thick of a violent story, you don't care as much about them. I probably mostly only notice them because as a writer, I kind of notice details like that sometimes, especially as things that I would want to avoid in my own writing or try to improve upon in my own writing to not have those kinds of issues. But yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. So since I can't think what else to say without super spoiling things, this is probably all I'm going to say. but I highly recommend you go out and read it for yourselves. As far as I know, it's still only 99 cents on all its electronic formats, since Michael Brett Collins is amazing and has been trying to help people through quarantine by providing them really cheap books that way. Obviously, the physical copies are still more expensive, but if you just want a quick read and you have like a Kindle app, 99 cents. It's really great. That's how I got mine. And I'm really happy that I did, and I went forward with reading it. And yeah, so I've got nothing else to say at the moment, but I hope you guys all read it too. Let me know your thoughts if you happen to have read it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if you enjoyed it as much as strangers, more, less, etc. And I think that's all I've got for now. This is the Umlaut Harper, signing out.